Senela, thank you very much. Thank you very much for agreeing to meet with me in this conversation with the inspiring. When we say conversation with the inspiring, what I'm talking about is not me. I'm talking about absolutely you. Now, I've for the purpose of people who are tuning into this and want a flavor of who Senela is, we have not got time, because I would be reading a very long biography of, let me just say that I think I'm a busy person, okay? And then I read your biography and I thought, I'm exhausted now, just because I read that. So thank you very much, Senela, for being with us today.
Absolute privilege. Privilege is all mine. Glad to be here, Rick. Thank you for having me.
And we will do something. We will endorse somebody, because we have a mutual friend who introduced us, and it would be remiss if I did not mention Jiwa Pereira, who is a longtime friend of mine, and I know he's a longtime friend of yours. And he put us together just recently as well. And I feel like I've known you for a very long time, because anyone that he introduces to me, I know they're going to be in the same zone as him. Do you know what I mean? Thinking the same way. Would that be fair?
Absolutely, absolutely.
He's a beautiful man. So now we've done that. We've got Jiwa out of the way. He'll watch this and go, oh, okay, so that's enough. That's enough.
Jiwa, if you're watching.
We love you. We love you, Jiwa. So
we do.
just at the top there. So you've got a tagline that says, helping you with high performance for a higher purpose. Now that covers a multitude of things. Can you just give us a flavor of what is a day in the life of Senela now, and where did you come from? How did it all start for you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very passionate about that quote, helping people for a higher purpose. And it's very symbolic with what I stand for, what I stand behind. So Rick, I've been in the training and development, people and organization transformation space for over 15 years now. And I also have a very versatile background. I was working in a Fortune 100 company in the oil and gas sector, managing brand development. And the purpose there was about making this brand shine for the world. I was also the country head in a tech company, and then there I was able to really get into people development. I was the first female executive and the woman in charge in that company. It was really interesting because I was really able to work on change management initiatives, looking at people transformation, coaching, mentoring my sector heads, again, for a higher purpose beyond product and solution. And I always felt my versatile career profile involving people development and brands gave me that entrepreneurial advantage, so to speak, and which I felt was a responsibility on me to see how I can come up with something that can support product, that can support service, but beyond that, a higher purpose where I would also support the leader behind the business, the ecosystem that would govern a business, the culture that would transform a business and ultimately impact community and the world at large. So fast forward to where I am today, what I'm doing today, I specialize in two key areas. And I also see a lot of synergy between these two areas, Rick. One is leadership development and another is innovation. And I'm sure we'll come more towards that end because I do a lot of work around innovation as it relates to diversity and inclusion as well. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion, there again, it serves a higher purpose. So there you go. That's really just the long story short, Rick.
I think the story is an awful lot longer, but well done for encapsulating it in those words. There's something else that I would like to mention, just because I think it's really important that you do good works in the community. We're not talking about just business or just helping that. And when I say just, that's not to belittle that work, because that's hugely valuable. But I know you do good works in the community. What work, could you just give us a snapshot of what that is that you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. I sit on nonprofit boards as well. And I have my own company in 2018. And since it's called Women Empowered Global. And what we do is it's a leadership building platform for women spanning 6 continents worldwide. And it's an empowerment platform to empower women around the world through education, giving them the street business acumen of running business. And we do programs in Africa, we do programs around the world. And we also empower women through career advancement initiatives, entrepreneurial programs, and networking forums. So we do anything between the scale of the size of an expo, like a trade fair, all the way up to like a global summit. And we connect experts, we connect people sitting on policy tables, women in decision-making tables, male allies. We are master connectors of sorts, getting people together, giving women who are looking for opportunities to really be able to develop themselves and take their journey to the next level. We really give them that passport to knowledge, that passport to networking, the passport for a better future. So that's really what we do at Women Empowered Global. And to date, Rick, it's really exciting. In just a span of 3.5 years since we incorporated, we have dynamically grown, and we have a global reach across over 25 countries worldwide. We have presence in over 25 countries. It's been tremendous hard work, but tremendously fulfilling work as well.
And from what I've seen of that work, it is pretty much a cascade system, isn't it? It's where not only do you empower and then others empower, but it goes right through the organization, because clearly if you motivate and inspire one person to go out and be motivating and inspiring, then the dominoes go down and they start to not only spread the word for the organization, but actually live and breathe that, what we call in an organization I'm part of, what we call the giver's gain philosophy, is making sure that you're looking after other people first, and then everything will come back to you.
Absolutely. And that's something that we support on our website as well. End of the day, we use a very strict assessment criteria. So, you know, when you talk about empowering women, it's not like a movie out of Disney. It's not an animation where you have a Cinderella, you have a prince, and you have one shoe or remedy that fits everybody. It's a different portion size and magic for a different woman. So we're very conscious about that. And how we do it is we have this assessment system of sorts. It's very structured. And that assessment, the person would come to us, our ecosystem, depending on where she is in her life, depending on her skill set, depending on the type of empowerment she needs, we would assess that. Based on that, we would determine the relevant program that would really fit her shoe, so to speak. So that's how we get about it, to really make sure that it's being effective. And of course, we also have a sort of a interview process when we onboard people, where we tell them, if you're going in for a little bit more of a long-term program, if it's short-term public programs, it's different, like our master classes. But if they want to sign up for our coaching programs, we are very keen to assess their level of commitment to growth, because there's only so much we can do to impart knowledge and be passionate about giving her that knowledge and that acumen and access to financial knowledge and tools. But it's just a completely different ball game to apply that knowledge and see her business through the second year. So that's where assessment comes into play, and that is so crucial. That's such a crucial part of really empowering a woman. And you know, I'm sure you've heard of this famous example. Empowering somebody is not feeding them fish, it's teaching them to fish. So that's really what we're about.
Yeah, and it's a bit like in the world of publishing, if you think about charity shops or charity organizations, if you have something similar over in Sri Lanka to what we have here, people donate books a lot to raise funds, and it's a great thing to do. And I always kind of say that charity shops love to receive self-help books, because most of them are brand new with the spine unbroken. Because people buy self-help books because they're motivated, usually in a moment of transit. So they're moving from one place to another place. They go through a bookshop. They're inspired by the 200 words on the outside back cover with all the best intentions in the world to take it home and read it. And then it goes on the shelf with all the other brand new self-help books that they didn't really have time for. And of course, the question is for most people, if you have more than one self-help book, why did you need the second one? And
I love that.
in the organization, you might find that, as you described, that through the interview process, you might find that people come and they're looking for a magic bullet. They're looking for the thing, the organization to do the thing that's going to make it work for them. But of course, it's not that. The organization provides the gateway for knowledge and wisdom that's going to help them do the thing. So we come back to your analogy of the fish and the fishing. And I think it's a beautiful thing. How many members are in the organization across the 25 countries now?
We have a network reach of over 10,000, but direct members are approximately 4,500 to 5,000 on our system.
So it's an amazing thing, and in
it
a
really
relative, and any other organization would just doff their hat to you with respect for the speed at which you built the organization, and of course, I'm not talking to somebody who is not busy in her day job, who has all the time in the world to do these things. The work that you're doing on a daily basis now. So just describe in a little bit more detail, if you would, for people who are watching this. What is that work? Who is that person you're working with, and how are you helping them?
Absolutely. So in addition to Women Empowered Global, I also run a global consultancy. I do a lot of business mentoring, business coaching. I work with from small business owners to startups. I do a lot of work in the startup ecosystem as well. I'm a mentor. I'm involved in so many different incubators. And so I speak to that as well, the startup ecosystem. And from a specialization standpoint, in addition to my specialization in human resources, OD transformation, that sort of thing, I'm also very passionate about innovation. I'm an innovation certified expert. I sit on a global panel, and we do different programs to really support organizations to make an organization more purpose-driven towards innovation, to perceive innovation through a lens of purpose, and really creating value that can generate true impact. So it's really fulfilling work there as well. And the lens I offer, because I presume, because of my work in the women empowerment space, the SDG space, whatever I put my hand into, Rick, and I say yes to, it's something, number one, that I have to feel truly intrinsically connected to. And number two, I have to feel that it's also aligned with my calling. So I'm also in the space of innovation. I speak to L&D heads. I speak to innovation heads typically. So I would work with L&D, I'd work with innovation heads and leaders and product leads to look at ways we can culturally assess and measure the leadership readiness, culture readiness to support innovation goals of an organization. And the lens I offer it is also as it relates to diversity and inclusion, because you talk about innovation. I would say, Rick, especially in today's current absolutely volatile business climate, innovation is possibly one of the most essential modern skills in today's business, in today's modern business. So introducing innovation through the lens of also creating and harnessing an ecosystem in the organization that would support and breed more diversity and inclusion, then they're the better for it. So that is that added lens that I bring into my specialized work in innovation as well.
And of course, the core skill sets across the piece for that are the same, regardless of the country that you're targeting, if you will, if that's the right word for it, or the country that you're working, continent that you're working on, even though the cultural differences might be there, or the political differences might be there, but the fundamentals are the same. Where I believe if somebody was starting a business in Africa, or they're starting a business in Colombo, or they're starting a business in London, I think the fundamentals are the same everywhere. Have we got the ability to communicate well? Are we able to empathize with other people? And that wonderful word that you used, alignment, are we aligned in our calling? Are we aligned in the direction of travel that we want to go in? Because I think a lot of, and I would love your perspective on this. I think a lot of, especially company owners, when they start a business, they're willing to say yes to every potential client that comes along. And of course, if that client is not aligned with their ethics, their principles and morals, I think the tension is already set up at the get-go for a clash, if you will. I think too many companies or individuals are shy about stepping back from that and saying, actually, having those almost code of ethics listed out so that I know when I'm speaking to somebody, they meet my code of ethics, then we're in business together. What's your perspective on that? Are people too willing to say yes? I guess I'm saying.
It's so interesting. I love that you brought that perspective into point, because just recently, I was addressing a panel of C-level people in this forum, and it was on the topic of innovation for your organization. And these were all heads of the corporation and then the heads of innovation. And I asked them a question. I said, what would be your definition of awesome for innovating in your business? For the first couple of seconds, they were just like, think about this. What is that definition of awesome? And then the people who appeared from the same organization had completely different viewpoints on that, their definition of awesome. So let's start with that. So coming back to your question, I love that, Rick, because it really goes down to what is that higher purpose, and what does the purpose statement even look like in your organization? And to what extent does that purpose statement, or is that purpose statement really felt and understood across the board? You can't talk about transformation. You can't talk about empowering people. You certainly can't talk about creating more diverse and equitable organization if people don't even speak and communicate the same language. We need to start with the purpose statement. So I love what you said about, also looking at not just giving some value out, but are we really aligning our purpose and our purpose statement with that of our end users and our customers? That's a question as well.
And of course, life is too short to be spending it with people that we're not aligned with, that we're just going to be putting up with. I work with, like you do, with a lot of people around the world, and one of the things we start off with is, have you got a code of ethics? Now we say a code of ethics. You can call it a code of purpose or higher purpose or intent. But what is that code of ethics? And our analogy is, if you've got two companies that do exactly the same thing, which is very easy these days, it's difficult to be unique. But if you've got two companies that do exactly the same things, if one says, I'm brilliant at doing this, and the other one says, here is our code of ethics, which one are you more likely to go with? Do you want to go with the person who bigs themselves up by saying they're brilliant? Everyone's going to do that. Or are they saying things that are going to resonate with you because they set out right from the get-go, we've got a code of ethics, we've got a purpose statement. And within that purpose statement, we hope to encapsulate all the things that we would want. I use a term that if it would be good enough for my grandmother, then it's good enough for me to do it.
Absolutely love that. And it also reminds me of the whole clarity piece. As you shared that, because I have coaching programs that I've designed for women, personal leadership positions around the world in 20 different countries. And the framework I base it upon is 3 steps: clarity, strategy, action plan. And I love that you mentioned code of ethics and the whole clarity piece, because without clarity, and you're just communicating, what are you communicating? Everybody communicates. 80% of our life we communicate, or even more than that. But be intentional. And what does that look like, and why?
That is absolutely spot on. You've just in a very short sentence summed up a big part of when people get into business. If they just focus on that, it goes back to that, your story about an organization looking at one word, awesome, and what does that word mean? And they've all got a different, obviously, explanation for it. And I guess we are creatures of habit, and we may be too glib at chucking away words. We chuck out a word, that's awesome, and sometimes I can feel myself doing it, and I have to second guess and go, actually, the awesome in this moment is not the same as the awesome in the other moment. It's but it's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? And then these words trip out more from habit than positive intent. And do I actually mean this when I say it? But importantly, of course, I think there's the thing about communication. It's the frequency. There's an analogy about a radio transmitter and a radio receiver, and if it's slightly out of tune, that could be the way that we are being picked up. We might think we're using the words that the other person is hearing, but they might be hearing it slightly differently. So it's always looking for, how do we say something for them? And that's where I think a lot of people need to put in, I'm sure you're saying this all the time, they need to think about what's in it for the other person before they think about what's in it for them. We do a thing about diaries. Have you looked at your diary today? And when against each person's name, have you written what's in this for them? From that meeting, what's in this for them? Because if we start with that, then we'll get to what's in this for me. So if we go around the world with what's in them for them first, that would be a great thing. I wish we taught this in infant school, by the way, because this is the stuff. Imagine if we can get to young, I've got grandchildren, what we call small noisy luggage. If we could get to the small noisy luggage in schools and say, look, just walk around the world with the words in your head, what's in this for them, and the rest of your life will be brilliant and beautiful. You've got a whole, I'm going to call you out now. I just thought of something. I've just thought of something. For those who, we've been talking for some time, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that will not be in this recording, but this is what I'm going to do. So, because I'm in charge and I can do this, is I told
oh no,
you,
am I in trouble?
I hope not. I said to you before we came on that a co-director of Seven Sun, Rich Hayden, and I, we also own a publishing company called Fisher King Publishing. And you said you've got a book. There's a book which you clearly you need time to write. And I've said I'm gonna offer to publish your book. So when I see your profile in the future, I'm looking forward to it saying right at the end, it's going to say, and author of best-selling book, and whatever that fantastic title is going to be. This is in the recording now. You can't get away with it. It's there. I'm looking forward to that book coming out. Within your profile, it talks about you being a contributor to Women Going Global. And then it name checks some things like the White House. I think it's the US press. Is it the White House? Just tell us how that all worked out. How did you get involved? How were you in that book, and how can people get that book?
Absolutely. So basically, I run 2 companies. I'm involved in 7 different leadership teams around the world. I'm a highly passion-driven, purpose-driven person. If it doesn't link to my spiritual connection to life and why I exist, and if it's not challenging me, if I'm not learning, I don't do it. I must learn, I need to feel challenged, and I need to give back. So a combination of all these different networks, and then, all these different opportunities come as well. And it's wonderful, Rick, because even this wonderful platform that you built, even how, we came to connect through our wonderful dear Jiva. So similarly, there was, I attended a conference where I was one of the VIP speakers in Washington, DC. It was a investment summit global conference in DC. And I flew there, and then I met this wonderful lady, and we took an interest into each other's work. And she's very involved with global trade, global business, and she runs a particular chamber in her city in the States. And she invited me. She is the author of this wonderful book, Tanya McNeil. She invited me to be a part of her first book, which is Women Going Global. And she curated and she handpicked 13 women from around the world, each woman representing her region, to talk about our personal journey, our vulnerabilities, our stories, what's inspired us, the lessons we've learned, and how far we've arrived, our secret sauce to business, and overcoming cultural diversity, all that sort of thing. And it went on where ultimately I had a full chapter dedicated to me, and the book was written including my chapter as well. So I have a chapter after me, my story, my journey, and I feel so blessed and so grateful that I had the opportunity. And also I'm involved with another network, the US Presidential Service Center, and one of the inaugural magazines is the Presidential Magazine. And another wonderful blessing, and the patron, the person, the mastermind behind that entire initiative is Marty, a wonderful human being who does wonderful service around the world, and Marty Mongiello, and he's the president of the United States Presidential Service Center, and I was invited to represent that magazine, the inaugural publication. On page, I think it's 11, I have my article there, How to Unlock Your Vision. So that was such a wonderful feat, and that was done also in collaboration with the White House. It was wonderful. And then, you know, it's really amazing, because I think the minute you put your heart and soul into something and you're highly intentional, Rick, you get involved in so many different things. I've been called to place covers in magazines in Australia. I, you know, spoken in panels in Norway. And it's just been such a tremendous journey and ride. And I'm so grateful. And I, you know, something I tell women, particularly who come to me for coaching and mentoring, success will not work for you if you don't work hard for success, and be highly intentional. And it goes back to my slogan, helping people for higher performance, for higher purpose. It's about giving back. That's the higher purpose.
I think that is absolutely beautiful. The thing about putting yourself out there, of course, is that you can end up saying yes to lots of things, and time is precious. It's the only commodity that we can't get back. I'm absolutely honored and impressed to have spent time with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rick. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Loved it.